Aging. Aging is something that every one of us encounters. We age from the beginning of our lives, and even though we barely notice it. With every passing second, we get older and older. Especially when we are younger, the shift is unimaginable. But someday, you look back at the old pictures of yourself and notice how much you've grown and changed. When we are young, all we think about is getting older so that we can do whatever we want and get stronger than we were. But at some point there's a switch. All of a sudden, aging isn't something that we look forward to anymore, since it looks mostly like a downhill road with no way back up. Our physical health declines and we have less mental capacity as when we were younger. The point comes for everyone at a different time and they can highly vary. Some reach their peak in their 20s and some don't get there until their 40s. Every one of us is different, but it currently is certain that at some point time catches up to every one of us. But our current problems with aging is already very luxurious. For looking back at how old people got just a century ago, where the average lifespan did not even reach 60 years, while nowadays at that point most people still work and we nowadays reach an average of our mid-70s. Sure, that are just 10 to 20 years, but that is equivalent to about 1/4 to 1/3 just an average age, with some people even reaching over 100 years in age. If we go further back in time, it becomes an even bigger gap, and we can most certainly say that without any huge catastrophic events, we can expect our life expectancy to grow even higher. This brings us to the questions: what if you could live forever? What if aging is the disease that stops us from living for as long as we want? How might we be able to prolong our lifespan even more? And what changes for us now? Before we start, this video is part of a personal challenge where I read 10 pages of an educational book every day and summarize some aspects. This is episode 1 of the series and discusses ideas from Lifespan by David A. Sinclair, which are not to be taken as clear facts. It is for informational purposes only, and I am not qualified to provide medical advice or pharmaceutical recommendations. Let's start with what would actually change, and let's be honest directly. Honestly, not much. That is correct. Right here and now there would not be really any changes, since you won't benefit from it for a long time. If it gets public and a well-known fact, maybe people would start trying to pursue that long life. Expecting it comes from good health, there would be more interest in the topic of staying healthy and how to achieve it. But more would not really change. Some people are still going to be like, nah, that is too much work, and might die through some illness that they could have prevented. But that is nothing new. The real change only comes through the following years. When people get older, our current work model dies, since there are more people requiring support, since they already worked their 40 to 50 years and do not want to start working again. Some start working again, since they can find a way to be healthy enough. But what follows then? We have more and more people requiring work, and still everyone needs the same, if not more money. So we have two options really. Either every one of us has to work less hours and all of the work gets split between all working people, which would lead to more free time and therefore possibly more innovations, as well as the possibility to freely travel and learn way more. All of this gives everyone more possibility to achieve what they define as a happy, fulfilled life. Or we might encounter a completely different type of capitalism, where all people start to fight more and more for the already limited amount of jobs, pushing the requirements even higher and creating even more competition among everyone who wants to get a shot at living with the right care for as long as they want to. Since after all, just because we have the option to live forever, we don't have to. But let's just assume that we develop in the right way and it gets a happier place with more time for everyone to do what they want. It will take many years, possibly even decades, but over time society has to adapt to these new conditions and our lifestyles have to as well. Then there's also the burning question about how this will affect overpopulation, distribution of resources and renewable resources, and how this would change the power dynamic more in the direction of older people due to their prolonged life experience. But therefore the options are endless, and I'm sure everyone thinking about this gets their own idea. So I ask you to comment with your opinion on what could happen and what solutions we might be able to find. According to David's findings, one of the key indicators of our aging process is the slow destruction of our telomeres. These telomeres are something like small protective caps at the end of our chromosomes, which determine how a cell is supposed to evolve after splitting itself. During that splitting, our chromosomes get cloned and replicated. You can imagine it like a fresh book at the beginning of your life. They are easily readable and clean, but over the span of your life, more and more people read this book and get sturdier each time, until at some point it is very hard to read. Same is it for your cloned telomeres, which leads to more and more cells not knowing what they are supposed to be and do, therefore leading to something like black spots consisting of old and malfunctioning cells, which are perfect hosts for cancer or any other thing that wants to survive in your body. But one important thing is that not all of a sudden all cells that duplicate themselves are so-called zombie cells. Some still function perfectly, so there has to be a way to try and prevent these corruptions. That is what researchers in the field of aging are looking for. Researchers found already some ways to repair or at least slow down this degradation, mostly leading to low amounts of stress on your cells and support of chemicals inside the cells. In his book, David mentions a couple of options, as well as what he and his father take to be in such good conditions compared to others their age. Most things are pretty standard that you can hear everywhere online, like taking extra vitamins and exercising enough. But he explains more precisely that you are supposed to set your body under a bit of stress most of the time. This does not mean mental stress and instead physical stress, to strengthen your cells and overall your body. Therefore, he recommends moderate daily exercise, including the 10,000 steps a day, as well as reduced sitting activities. Cardio, as well as some form of strength training, is highly beneficial, since it keeps our body active and strengthens the. To be more in the uncommon recommendations, he mentions the exposure to either a little bit of cold or moderate heat is beneficial, since this requires your cells to be more active, therefore reducing the average temperature of your home by 1 to 2 degrees should already be enough, with occasional exposure to heat through, for example, a sauna. He also mentioned ice baths, but does not take them regularly himself, since they do not fit for everyone and are more risky. If you are not feeling perfect, therefore it is not recommended to be a standard practice, except if you know yourself well and listen to your body. Following a diet of any sort is also proven to set extra stress on your body in the initial weeks. But over time this effect decreases, so you can make a rotational diet system to keep this effect going. Instead of restricting himself more with the diet, he went with 2 meals a day instead of 3, since scientists have proven that being slightly hungry increases your cell activity. This does not mean to starve yourself, but just eating 2 proper meals until you are about 80% full is enough to give your body the required energy. He determines this point simply with the question: if I now stop eating, will this satisfy me for at least 2 hours? If yes, then it is enough. If not, he eats a bit more. To keep his diet healthy, he also reduced the sugar as much as possible and switched to a more natural focused meal plan, since nowadays sugar and other stuff gets added in nearly everything you can purchase, and this is most of the time not necessary. Besides these lifestyle options, he also takes some supplements to improve his overall saturation. But he gets his blood tested every other month to adjust accordingly and to make sure he is not running in an overconsumption. I myself do not really take supplements and don't know a lot about them, but for the completion, here is a list of what he takes daily. He takes 1 gram of nicotinamide mononucleotide, also called NMN, 1 gram of resveratrol, 1 gram metformin, and a daily dose of vitamin D, K2, and 83 milligrams of aspirin. In his book on page 304 he has a list of his changes, mostly being already mentioned here. But all of this brings the question: if I start optimizing now and we do end up living a far longer life, what changes? Now that we talked about what a longer life might look like and how we can achieve this, what does it all lead to for now? Since sure, it sounds nice what we might someday be able to achieve, but without an as close as possible feedback, most of us will not stick with it. So what can you expect from some of these practices? At the pure minimum, you might notice less struggle with starting the day and falling asleep in the evening. You'll feel your body getting lighter and overall more energy to go through your day-to-day life. Also, all of this extra energy and possibility to do what you want will most likely increase your mood a bit, making you more happy and active, giving you more creativity and potential to use in whichever way you want. Of course, there will still be bad days, but they do not make out your life as much anymore. And let's be honest, sometimes we need a bad day to either remind us of all our good days, or because a bad day can also feel a bit relieving sometimes. In the end, I do have to say that we cannot be certain what might come for us, especially since we do not yet know what the effects of our research really do to us long term, considering that everyone who reaches 100 years currently already lived at a compared time from the beginning. So when you might reach that age, we have changed a whole lot, and 100 years of age might not be that impressive anymore. But it could also be that due to all of our other changes in our current society, with our work lives might reduce our average age again. This will be up to speculation and optimism for a long time. Until then, do your best to live a happy, healthy and good life.